what's the difference between me and you? About 4 victories, a good roster, and a nice lineup. What's going on, guys? Up to this next week, week 6 review, week 7 preview. I'm doing it alone today. I didn't have no guest. Everyone bailed on me, but it's all good. So, last week I want to apologize. I know the video was a little long. I was a little bit unprepared, got caught off guard, but be a lot shorter this time today. Just gonna hit some key points on everything and what was and what wasn't. So let's get into the highs and lows first. Last week, a surprise player out of nowhere, high score 134.6 to New York Brooklyn Zoo. Matt, congratulations. You know, for a rookie player, must feel pretty good. And now we go on to the lows. The lows was 68.8. Witten the hell. I mean, on that I got. I hope he didn't take my advice, but I got to apologize. When my quarterback and my receivers played the Giants, I looked into it too much, and they said, "Oh, the Giants," and I backed off. And last week I came out and said the Giants are no one to be afraid of. Play all your starters against the Giants, and they showed up. I mean, 0-5, and they finally decided to show up week 6. So who'd have figured? I mean, and against the Broncos too. The Broncos would look pretty good for the most part. But yeah, either way, 68.8 was the low, and
oh baby, a triple! Oh yeah!
so triple-digit scores. We had Staph infection contagious. Finally, our fantasy god coming back, being relevant again. I mean, his record's good. He's just had some pretty shitty scores. Hungry Hippogriffs, House of Cousins Odell, and like I said, the New York Brooklyn Zoo all hit triple digits. So congratulations to you guys. Let's get into the review. So the first matchup was me, the Golden Geese, over who the fuck is this? Easy win, week 6, Ray. Excuses. Again, I have a new excuse every week for why my roster sucks, for why I didn't win, why I didn't pull out the victory. I mean, this time, my quarterback got hurt in the first quarter. He had, I think, 2 points or 1.2 points. After that, Kobe Fleener, who just came off a bye, who everyone, well, not everyone, but people were saying, you know, was going to get good touches because of the matchup against Detroit, got me a goose egg, Golden Geese. I mean, it goes with the name. Nothing, no points from him. So horrible. The score was 90.6 to 92.1. I lost by 1.5 points. Again, my quarterback went out in the first quarter, and my tight end got me a big old fat goose egg, a 0-0. So there's no major points left on the bench. Breeze surprisingly didn't have that good of a game. Gronk was his high score, 20.3 points, and for me, Melvin Gordon kept me in it with 27 points. So I owe you a burger and a beer. Let's see when we make that payment, Ray. And yeah, I mean, it was. My season's been tragic so far, but like I said, no excuses. I'm not giving up. Still pushing forward. Actually, for one of the polls that was suggested to me this week, I'm going to put up after I do this video, of the players who are in the 1-win category, which there's a lot of us, a couple of us, who do you think is going to make it? So something to think about. You don't have to do it right away. Obviously, you don't have to do it, but it's nice to get feed and input from everybody, you know, see that you guys are actually paying attention, make it actually a little more interesting for you. But that's it for that game. I got beat, you know, again, excuses. I feel like I should have won. But hey, it is what it is. You know, I mean, what am I going to do? So, on to the next game. Witten the Hell, 68.8 versus Staph Infection Contagious, 105.1. A 36.3 margin of victory. So, David, he's like, he was supposed to come here and help me, you know, do this show first. And then after, he's like, oh, I'm not going to be able to make it. But just make sure you let everybody know that I whipped Mike's ass. And that he did. 36 points. I mean, again, like I said, he finally came back. Here was David's scores recently. His first score was 146.9, but then 68.6, weak. 73.5, weak. 69.5, weak. And then finally he comes back with 105.1. So, really good game. Everyone just seemed to come in it. Mike, C.J. Anderson, he's in a committee now. Now you got Devontae Booker, and you still have Jamal Charles there. So, I mean, that took a lot of touches away with Devontae Booker. And again, the Giants showed up. I mean, who would have expected that? Nobody. Gillislee fumbled, put him in the doghouse. You know, they don't mess around in New England. His high score surprised Trevor Siemian. And for David, his high score was his defense. I think he got him like 27 points. Jay Ajayi had a decent game. Will Fuller continues to impress. I mean, they're still like saying if this pace continues, he'll score like 20 some odd touchdowns in this short amount of time. So, Wentz was on the bench for 27 points, and I mean, again, it wouldn't have helped because he still would have been behind, but would have been a lot closer, a little bit more respectable. Again, I apologize for what I said about the Giants. You got to give them their credit because they kicked ass that game. On to the next matchup, we have the Hungry Hippogriffs, 106 points versus Avada Kedavra, 78.5. That's a 27.5 margin victory. Cam had a good game, and Brady should have destroyed the Jets. I mean, he had 257 for 2 touchdowns and an interception, but I thought he was just going to go ballistic on them. Again, the Jets being who they are, the little brother of the AFC, I didn't see that going that way. Le'Veon Bell had another good game after a weak game last week. He had 25 points. He was his top scorer. T.Y. Hilton only 1.9 points, but again, he didn't need the points. So, and for Joe, a little diamond in the rough, welcome back Adrian Peterson. Had 25 points. I didn't realize that they would have used him so much in the last video, but what I heard after we made it was that when they signed him, they had sent their offensive coordinator, flew him out to Adrian Peterson with the playbook, and they got started that day. I mean, I would have expected something like that this week as opposed to last week, but he still did it. He's up there now. Like you have a solid running back now, so hopefully you get your shit together. He was his high scorer, 25.4 points, like I said, and Jonathan Stewart, negative 0.4 points. I don't know what it is over there with Jonathan Stewart. They can't really run the ball. I mean, McCaffrey's over there, but he's just getting all the little swing passes, little dink and dunk passes. So they just can't run the ball in Carolina. Neither one of them is getting good yardage. The only reason McCaffrey is relevant is because of the pass game. So I don't know what to tell you there. The bench points couldn't have saved you. You had Ted Ginn on there. He had like 12 points with a touchdown and 60 yards. Sorry. And yeah, so for that game, tough game. The one after that I have, Hiding Houston's 97.9 versus House of Cousins Odell, 104.2. 6.3 margin of victory. Now, what's interesting about this game is he only lost by 6 points, but what you got to look at is that regrettably, Aaron Rodgers broke his collarbone in that game. Aaron Rodgers, his starting quarterback. So he left. When he left, he had 0.7 points. He left early in the game. It was against Minnesota. I mean, Hundley threw for 1 touchdown. I'm sure Rodgers could have thrown for at least 2, and that would have been a whole different game. But fantasy football, it being what it is, you lost your guy. You lost the match. It's unfortunate. And Omar has still yet to be defeated. That doesn't even feel right saying that. Antonio Brown killing it again, 21.5 points. Rodgers had 0.7, so he was the low, but for someone who played a full game was Michael Thomas. He had 1.1. the low for him. For Cousins Odell, it was Kirk Cousins. 31.8 was his high score, and Brandon McManus, only 2 points. That was his low score. Not his name's Andre Reed. What's his name? Jordan Reed for his tight end. Hasn't topped 50 yards this year, and he hasn't scored a touchdown either. I mean, he's been injury plagued and he's had a lot of issues, but the production's not there like it was last year. I mean, I don't think he's. Again, moving forward, I would look for another option, but it is what it is. Finally, DeAndre Hopkins came back down to earth. He had 2 receptions and 1 touchdown, only 19 yards, but this time he didn't have multiple touchdown games for the first week in like 3 weeks. And you did a bold move. You started both Deshaun Jackson and Mike Evans, and Evans had a good game. Jackson had a decent game. Worked out well for you. The Houston defense had like 28 points, actually. I think I said Antonio Brown was his top, but 28 points, the Houston defense against the Browns. They had a touchdown, 3 interceptions, a safety, and they only scored 11 points against them. So that Houston defense, hiding Houston, man, that's a good pickup. I didn't think they'd be that good, but they're just destroying teams, at least from a fantasy standpoint. So, yeah, Omar's still undefeated, and Cade took, was it his second loss or his first loss? Second loss. Again, injuries, you can't prepare for them. You just got to try and do what you can with it and, try and keep pushing forward because, goddamn, that is tough. On to the next game. Free Dougie Fresh. He lost 98 to the New York Brooklyn Zoo, 134.6, our high score of the week. 36.6 margin of victory. It's 0.3 points higher than yours, David, but still, Matt, you did a good job. Kelsey had less than 5 points for the 3rd time. Keenan Allen only had 4.5 points for you, Jesse. Watson continues to roll, 29.3 points. And McKinnon on your bench, 20 points. Minnesota's defense on your bench, 17 points. DeMarco Murray on your bench, 14 points. I mean, you figure a combination of those guys for some of the guys you started probably could have got a lot closer, maybe even could have won this game.
Activating phone command.
For Matt, only Gostkowski and Marshawn Lynch scored single digits. Everybody else on your team went off. Everybody else. I mean, you got Palmer, 26 points. Mark Ingram. I called that one, by the way. I said when Adrian Peterson left, watch out for Mark Ingram. And again, it was only like 9 more touches, but the fact that they could play their game plan and they didn't have to force the ball to Adrian Peterson, and they didn't have to add him into it, it just worked well for him. 25 points, hell of a game. Fitzgerald with Palmer went off, 17 points. Jarvis Landry, 12 points. I think his Devontae Parker was out. Zach Ertz continues to be the freaking stud tight end of the year, 13.8 points. He had 2 touchdowns, only 2 receptions, but both of them were for touchdowns. Cameron Brate, the fucking waiver wire steal for tight ends, he had 13 points. Defense had 14 points. I mean, everybody on your team went off but 2 players. So 134.6. Again, congratulations. That was a hell of a win. So that's it for the recap. I think I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5 of the games. I pity the fool. Our loser champion this year, Caesar, was on the bye. I mean, which is a good thing. He only scored 78 points. Maybe he would have changed up his roster, but it doesn't really matter. I think the only thing significant was that he had picked up another Marvin Jones, had 15 points, and his Chris Hogan only had 19. Leonard Fournette still had a good game. But anyway, like I said, he was on a bye week, so he's still in it. Let's go on to the previews for the next week. For the first matchup, it's my team, the Golden Geese, versus Free Dougie Fresh. You might have seen we just had this monster deal go down. I traded away Gordon. He gave me McKinnon and Keenan Allen. Have your opinions on that. You could say, oh, you're dumb for giving away Gordon, but I've made worse trades. I think I actually got a decent receiver out of it, and I was able to keep McCaffrey without, giving up everything, because when I threw it out there, I was getting all kinds of offers. But like I said, he has Derek Carr at KC. I don't believe in the Raiders. Doug Martin, Melvin Gordon at Denver, Julio Jones. Julio Jones hasn't scored a touchdown this year. I didn't know that. He's had like 90 yards in a 100-yard game, but he's yet to score a touchdown this year. Crabtree again at Kansas City. Crabtree's been killing it lately. Kelsey's hit or miss. Like I said last week, he only had like 4 points or something like that. And then to round it out, he has Kamara, Minnesota's defense, and Dan Bailey. My roster's all fresh, changed up. I have Mariota at Cleveland. I think that one's going to do well for me. So McKinnon at Baltimore. That's probably like the hardest game he has for the rest of the season. I picked up Keenan Allen at Denver. I think that's going to be a tough matchup as well. Montgomery, I'm curious to see how he does. Finally coming, it's his second week back from injury, but I think he's going to actually be more involved. And then with the loss of Aaron Rodgers, I think they're going to want to lean more on him than on the rookie Aaron Jones just because he's more familiar with the system. Maybe it's just my high hopes, but he's projected to beat me by 10 points. I could see it coming to less than 10 points. And like I said, every week I got to go with myself. I got to give myself the edge. I think I'm going to take this one, and I think I'm going to be back, put myself up at 2 wins, and get it rolling because I'm not out. I'm not done. You guys better be prepared because I'm coming. The next matchup, we got Joe versus Mike. Team name change right here. The Broncos suck versus Sit on This. Pretty sure you can figure out who's who. You got Tom Brady. Tom Brady at Atlanta. Versus Atlanta in New England. And Carson Wentz on Monday night against Washington. I don't know about Atlanta, dude. They're not that. They look weird. They just lost to the Dolphins, and they don't look good. And they came off a bye and everything. I want to believe that Brady's going to throw all over them, but that's what I thought he was going to do to the Jets, and he didn't do that. And Carson Wentz, Washington has given up yardage. They have given up. Their defense looks good, but they give up yards. And Carson Wentz being as on fire as he's been lately, I think Wentz is going to have the edge in that one. Mike's running backs again. That's C.J. Anderson and Mike Gillislee to Adrian Peterson and LeGarrette Blount. Blunt's good for about 8 points. Peterson, they're playing the Rams, though, so the Rams' defense is pretty good, too. I don't think he's going to get 25 points like he did last week. He'll probably get maybe 12. For the running backs, I give the edge to Joe. C.J. Anderson's at the Chargers, though. They got a good D-line. Receivers, you got Ted Ginn Jr. and I don't know if it's Javon. I don't know who it is. I think it's a Javon Curse, and that's old school Titans, defensive lineman. So I apologize, whatever your name is, Jermaine. And his flex is, his tight ends, Jared Cook, flex Martavis Bryant. Mike has Dez, AJ Green, Witten, and Coleman. So for the wide receivers, tight end, and flex, I got Mike because his guys all are like tier 1, high tier 2 players, and except for Coleman. And Joe's are like tier 3, looking up to tier 2 players. Joe has the Buffalo's defense and Philadelphia's kicker. Mike has Kansas City's defense at Oakland. I love that matchup. I'm just not high on Oakland anymore. They haven't looked good. They've looked hurt. Their lines look suspect. And Justin Tucker. Justin Tucker was I was really high on him at the beginning of the year. I mean, he hasn't been. I think it's just Baltimore's offense has been a little stagnant, so that's why he hasn't had as many opportunities. But the talent's still there. It's not like he's missing kicks. So they have this one projected as it is. Mike to win 90 to 87.6, and I think Brady. No. I'm going with Mike on this one. Maybe 8 points. I don't think he's gonna blow him away, but actually he might because his receivers. Okay, I'll say 12 points. So I got Mike on that one. To the next one, House of Cousins Odell again, who was yet to lose. I can't believe this. For the second time, I can't believe I'm saying this. He has yet to lose. He's playing the Hungry Hippogriffs. So, I think that one deserves the air horn because it's definitely the matchup of the week. I don't know how it's gonna work. I don't know not how it's gonna work, but you got Prescott at San Francisco. I think again San Francisco just hasn't won. They've lost close games, but they give up a lot of yards. They stay in. They come back late. Prescott, I think, is going to destroy them. Cam Newton at Chicago. Chicago's been weird. You know, they lose. They've lost a lot of games, but they're always relevant somehow. They stay close. But Cam's been throwing it around a lot. So in this one, I still take Prescott. For Cousins, Odell's running backs, he has Freeman, Howard, and Hungry Hippogriffs, Bell and Gurley. Bell at Cincinnati, Gurley at Arizona. Gurley at Arizona is going to be a little bit tough. I think he should be fine, though. And Le'Veon Bell at Cincinnati, I think he's going to tear that ass up. So for running backs, although I don't think Cousins are bad, you know, Freeman and Howard aren't bad, I just think Bell and Gurley's way, way better. So I got him on those. For receivers and tight end, Hungry Hippogriffs, you have Gurley, Cooks, Pryor, and Hunter Henry. And Cousins has Deshaun Jackson, Mike Evans again, Jordan Reed, and Joe Mixon as the flex. Cooks playing Atlanta, I think he's going to get a touchdown, maybe like a 50-yarder. So I think he'll get more than that on top of that. But I think he's going to hit like a 40-plus yard touchdown in that game. Someone's going to miss up in coverage, and he'll be wide open and burn everybody. Terrell Pryor has not been what everyone expected. I mean, they were talking about, like, if he was that good in Cleveland, you know, and look at who we had throwing to him, of course you plug him in with a better quarterback and a better team, and he's just going to go nuts. But hasn't really translated. I mean, Hunter Henry, he's the true golden goose. I mean, he can go for 10 or he can go for nothing. But he's been more consistent lately. And against Denver, you know, against tight ends, they're lower ranking than everyone else. Again, I'm not high on Jordan Reed. He hasn't put up more than 50 yards, and he hasn't scored a touchdown so far. Mixon, he still shows flashes, but against Pittsburgh's defense looks better. So I don't think he's going to do that well. And Kareem Hunt, dude, of course. So all around, I think they have it 101 to 106, Hungry Hippogriffs. I think it's going to be like 110 to like 125, Hungry Hippogriffs. I'm calling that one. The kickers, again, Cousins, Odell went out and got Ryan Suckup. He's been the leading scorer for kickers. They're playing Cleveland. Tennessee's playing Cleveland, so there's a lot of opportunity there. It only has them projected for 9 points, but it's a lot of opportunity there. I think it's going to be a lot. I think he'll have more than that. But either way, I still give him the edge to Hungry Hippogriffs. Omar gets his first loss this week. I'm calling it right here, right now. So on to the next matchup. You got the New York Brooklyn Zoo against Hiding Houston. Matt's projected to win 107.8 to Cade's 88.6. Palmer at the Rams. Again, Rams defense. They've let up some games. They've let up a lot of yards and a lot of points. Against Alex Smith at Oakland, of course. Again, play against Oakland. I take Alex Smith in that one over Carson Palmer at the Rams. Ezekiel Elliott. Damn Ezekiel Elliott. He was supposed to be suspended the first 6 weeks. Got away with it. Then they suspended him again. Gets a restraining order. I don't know how. I don't understand the legality of that. How you get a restraining order over a suspension, or maybe it was. I don't know. But either way, he's playing the next 2 weeks. At least this week guaranteed, and next week, unless if there's some huge change, which there probably won't be. He gets the next 2 weeks, and then they're gonna like look into the case again. So Ezekiel Elliott's playing against San Francisco. I think he's just gonna run all over them all day long. So huge game out of Zeke. I'm expecting. Carlos Hyde and Chris Thompson are Cade's running backs. Carlos Hyde looked really good last week. Chris Thompson, he's had a bunch of really good games. I mean, if they use him a lot in the passing game, he should be fine, have a good day. But I'm going to go with Matt's running backs, Ezekiel Elliott and Mark Ingram. Because, again, Ingram with no Adrian Peterson, and they're playing the Packers. Packers are banged up, so I think he should have a pretty good game there too. For the receivers, Matt has Larry Fitzgerald, Jarvis Landry, his tight end Zach Ertz, and his flex is Marshawn Lynch. For Cade, you got Antonio Brown, Alshon Jeffrey, Evan Ingram, and Derrick Henry as his flex. For the receivers, I like Fitz over Jeffrey, but as a whole, Antonio Brown over Jarvis Landry and Fitzgerald both. He's no matter what Ben throws for, half of it goes to Antonio Brown, and he makes the catches. All you got to worry about is if he gets touchdowns or not. And if he gets touchdowns, his score is going to be ridiculously high. And against Cincinnati, they're rival teams. Since that playoff game where there was a cheap shot involved like 2 years ago, they play each other tough, and there's a lot of physical pushes and remarks. I wouldn't be surprised if 2 fights break out, but it's gonna get interesting and it's gonna get ugly. And I think the Steelers are gonna be on the receiving side of that. I think they're gonna get inside the head of the Bengals, and I think they're gonna take advantage of them. That's what I meant to say, not be on the receiving end. They're gonna take advantage of them, and they're just gonna all day long. Antonio Brown's just gonna be destroying them. That's what I predict. Evan Ingram against Seattle. Again, Seattle's looked good at times, but Zach Ertz, I would go with Zach Ertz, especially as an easier matchup against Washington. Easier than Seattle. Not easy, though. Marshawn Lynch, he hasn't really been anything. I think he had one 10-point game, and the rest of that, he's just not. They're not as good as last year, and I think they were expecting to be, and to use him just to close out games, but they haven't been able to. Derrick Henry saved his ass. I think it was like a 72-yard touchdown, so that's where he got most of his points from. I'm not discrediting him. I've had him on my roster, and I've dropped him. DeMarco Murray still looks like the man, so it's at Cleveland. Maybe if they get far enough ahead, they'll just let Henry destroy them and run out the game. Overall, though, I'm going with Cade's guys over here. For defense, it's funny they're playing each other. Pittsburgh at Cincinnati and Cincinnati at Pittsburgh. I'm going with Pittsburgh on that one. Again, I think they're going to get inside the heads of the Bengals. Marv Lewis doesn't know how to control his team. They're just going to get all hot-headed, get all kinds of stupid penalties, and Steelers are just going to take advantage of them all day long. Kickers, kind of a push. Catanzaro and Gostkowski. Give it to Gostkowski because Patriots, I think, are going to put up points against Atlanta. Like I said, they have Matt projected to win 107 to 88.6. But I'm going with hiding Houston here. I think his team overall is going to have a better day. And on the bye this week, burger and beer. I owe you a burger and a beer. That's Ray. Doesn't have anything interesting really going on. He only has one guy on a bye. Drew Brees at Green Bay. Could have been a nice matchup, but he's only projected to get 80 points. Either way, he's on a bye, so it doesn't matter. And the next game, staph infection contagious against I Pity the Fool. I Pity the Fool coming off a bye. And he's projected to win 92.4 to 90. For quarterback, staph infection has Josh McCown because Stafford's on a bye. And Pity the Fool has Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan at New England. Again, Matt Ryan hasn't looked like himself since last year. McCown had a really good game against the Patriots. And Miami's coming off a good win against Atlanta. I don't know, though. I think I have to give the edge to this one on Matt Ryan just because New England does give up the yards. They've done it to everybody all year long. They've given up a lot. I think 300 yards passing almost every game. Don't quote me on that, but they've been giving up a shitload of yards. Fournette at Indy, I love that matchup, dude. Indy hasn't been good at stopping anybody, and Fournette, he had a small injury, but they didn't have him listed as questionable or anything like that, so he should be good to go, and I think he's going to go. Jay Ajayi at the Jets. Again, the Jets are weird. They look good against New England, even though they lost. And other weeks, they just get blown out. I think he should have a decent game. I don't think more than 15 points. Crowell, Chris Ivory, the backup. So he has Caesar has two of the Jacksonville running backs. Unless they get that far ahead, I don't see that going too well for him. For receivers and tight end, staph infection has Stefon Diggs, Tyreek Hill, Jimmy Graham, and Michael Thomas. And over here you got Chris Hogan, Marquise Lee, Eric Dixon, and Randall Cobb. As a whole, I like the Stefon Diggs, Tyreek Hill, and Michael Thomas. Jimmy Graham, he hasn't really done anything this year. On this side, on Caesar's side, you got Ed Dixon, who's actually had 2 good games. Randall Cobb, it depends on how the offense works. I mean, you got a new quarterback in there. Who's his go-to guy? Who has he had? Who has he built a good relationship with? We're yet to find out. Hogan, again, he's, aside from last week, had pretty good games, but again, it's Atlanta, so I think it's still in their head about that, 25-3, and they end up losing. So I think they're gonna have a way with Atlanta. For defense and kickers, we got the Rams kicker and the Rams defense for staph infection, Greg Zuerlein at Arizona, and then for pity the fool, you got the Dallas defense and Robbie Gould. The Dallas kicker and the Dallas. No, he's playing Dallas. The San Francisco kicker. My bad. The defense. Dallas at San Francisco. San Francisco's offense. They got a new quarterback in. They're playing a lot of Matt Breida alongside with Carlos Hyde, but Carlos Hyde. The Cowboys give up points, so I don't think that their defense is going to do as well as the Rams' defense in Arizona. Overall, I know Caesar's projected to win, but I got to go with Dave on this one, and I got him winning by 10 or so. It doesn't look too good for him, but yeah, short video. Like I said, I had 2 guys cancel on me. I won't throw their names out, but I know shit comes up. I know it's hard, but my door's always open. I've said it before. I'll say it again. If anyone ever wants to come do this with me, get a little one-on-one action. You guys have seen how I do it with Omar. We can come do that however you want. Again, I'm going to have the poll up. I'm going to do it right after I upload the video. Sorry for a late video. I try to get it done as soon as possible. Well, not as soon as possible. I try to get it done after the Monday night game. So usually between Tuesday, and I try to get it before the Thursday night game. So between Tuesday and Thursday, because of my schedule, I try and get it in when I can. Any other feedback? Thank you, Jason, for your feedback. Anyone else has any feedback? Anything you want to see? Anything you feel like I didn't get into enough depth, or you'd like maybe dude, you talk about that way too much, just move on to something else. I greatly appreciate it because it makes it better for me and it makes it better for you. That's why I do these things, for you guys, for my league, all of us. It's not just all about me and what I want to do and what I want to say. I want you guys to be interested in these videos. I want you guys to actually enjoy watching these videos, not just like, all right, I'm done. I don't want to hear this guy anymore. So again, your input's always welcome. You can leave comments here. You can text me personally. All you guys have my number. Thanks again, and I hope you enjoyed the show.